If you told me years ago that out of all the story-driven cartoons from the late 2010s, early 2020s, Amphibia would be the one that got the most content post-finale and could be making a comeback, I'd be a little shocked, given that the fandom seems smaller, but welcome whatever the Funky Frog Show has in store for us. After all, this is one of Disney's masterpieces, and while its bittersweet ending factors into that legendary status, you could definitely give us more time in this world without undoing the impact of the hardest thing. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Where's the idea of more Amphibia even coming from? Well, at the beginning of the month, Tokyo Pop held an Amphibia panel at Anime Expo to discuss the upcoming Art of Amphibia book, now releasing in March 2025. Of course, someone popped the question of a revival, which led to the man himself, Matt Brawley, stating, "We do have some cool ideas for continuing the show or continuing the story." It's also worth mentioning that he brought up the support for both the art book and Marcy's journal, i.e. sales. If the art book performs well and Marcy's journal continues to turn a profit, then more Amphibia could be on the table. But what would more Amphibia even look like? Well, I have some ideas, and you need something to watch while eating and or drawing, so let's get into it. Real quick, this video is brought to you by our Patreon, where for just $1 you can get sneak peeks, your name featured at the end of videos, and a glimpse into projects that we want to produce with your support. Supporting our Patreon also helps me afford cool art for videos like this thumbnail that my guy Hats Off Media cooked up, so consider checking it out. And if you're in the market for some Amphibia-inspired merch, peep the 3-star shirt and hoodie over at Toondrip. We got some great stuff you won't find in stores. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. Now on to the main event. Let's start simple and throw out the idea that Anne is able to return to Amphibia as an adult and reunite with the Planters, something that was actually teased at the end of Marcy's journal. The book kinda ends on a cliffhanger where, during the trio's reunion, which was shown at the end of the final episode, Anne gets a call from Terry the scientist. Terry informs Anne that they have some very exciting news, and the girls plan to rendezvous at the lab the following day. Obviously, we're being led to believe that after 10 years, Terry might finally have the portal up and running, even if for a brief moment, allowing the girls to contact their loved ones in Amphibia once again. We know from the show itself that, even with the best resources they could get their hands on, they could only get a tiny portal to open. They need the Calamity Stone's power to create an entrance big enough for people to travel through. And the stones are gone now, rumbling into dust alongside the music box. Terry's big news could easily be a version of the portal that they can send letters through, like a pen pal. But also, it's a cartoon, a piece of fiction. They could introduce whatever they want to get the girls back to Amphibia, like a new mysterious resource that for some reason powers the portal. And this resource could be the catalyst for a new interdimensional adventure. Maybe Terry creates some Ben 10-ass device, but instead of turning the girls into aliens like with the Omnitrix, they get the ability to travel to different dimensions, which is also how you can top the scale of the original series. The entire multiverse could be at their disposal instead of just one frog world. And I know multiverse stories have gotten on people's nerves lately, but if you use it to actually depict interesting worlds or scenarios, instead of dumb shit like, "In this world the red light means go," then the fact it's a multiverse story won't even matter. Not to mention this is a multiverse with the Boiling Isles in it. I promise you the potential is limitless here. Shit, Amphibia in itself is kind of a multiverse story by the end, and that never took me out of it once. You can even utilize alternate universes to honor the ending of the original series. What if Sprig and a few other fan favorites are already scattered across the multiverse, and the girls ultimately never return to Amphibia itself? They never get to have the whole cast together. But I get that the emotional impact of the hardest thing is the idea that Anne, Sasha, and Marcy will never see any of their Amphibia friends again, more than it is them never setting foot in Amphibia ever again. So if they're going to do something that altered the ending in any way, I can see why people prefer just bringing the girls back to Amphibia and having them handle a new threat. But honestly, I think they should leave Anne, Sasha, and Marcy's stories alone and instead have new kids get sent to Amphibia for a life-changing journey. That's right, I think Amphibia should pull an Infinity Train and switch everything up. New humans, new amphibians, and new locations, with the old cast popping up here and there for a quick cameo. And Sasha, Marcy, and the Boonchoys show up when the characters are on Earth, while the Planters, Grime, Unin, and so on show up in Amphibia, but their roles are always small. A nod to the fans of the original, and nothing more. Sure, characters like Unin and Olivia could probably get more screen time here since they got very little in the original, their highlight being their self-titled episode. But I would prefer for a sequel series to stand on its own as much as it could. I really like the idea of Amphibia being a place that remedies toxic relationships, and while the Calamity Trio had super fleshed out, unique dynamics that still managed to resonate with a lot of people's social experiences in middle school, high school, or even college in the adult world, not all toxic relationships are going to fit this mold. So give a new generation a chance to connect with new characters and identify with struggles that are unique to this chapter of the series. Infinity Train has 4 great seasons that prove this kind of format can work, but Amphibia could have the advantage of fleshing out a new cast of characters over multiple seasons instead of just 10-11-minute episodes. Bonus points if they still go for something like a multiverse watch, allowing them to hop between Earth and Amphibia whenever they want. Not only could this be another way for this hypothetical sequel to separate itself from the original, but it could make the inevitable final departure from Amphibia hit even harder than before, because this time, they'll have a lot more agency in this decision. There's so many ways you can mix up the human cast too. What if instead of best friends, they're siblings? The classic youngest child, oldest child, and middle child setup, and the middle child is our protagonist, at odds with both their siblings because of how their parents treat all 3 of them. Or what if it's just 2 people who get sent to Amphibia, that one couple who shouldn't be together but for whatever reason refuses to break up, and Amphibia helps them both recognize their faults and grow as people, splitting up amicably by the end of the series in a much better place from where they started. The possibilities are endless. Last but certainly not least, what if a continuation was simply a Sprig Adventure? Matt mentioned after the show ended that he had ideas for a movie, and how Amphibia's landscape might have shifted thanks to the moon's absence, uncovering parts of the planet that were long forgotten.
I think about a movie a lot, and I'll just tell you right now, the movie would be a time travel movie. I want to see Leaf and Beryl interact with our modern day characters. It would be the best way to kind of create a satisfying new story. It would be a great way to give payoffs to something you didn't even know you wanted. The Planters meeting their first descendant, or Beryl getting more screen time, or like, that stuff excites me. So if that's something you want to see, I mean, I'll never say never. I think that if you make enough noise and that's interesting, it can happen. So that would be kind of the perfect way to get to see these characters again.
So what if we just run with this from the perspective of Sprig? Go all in on the frogs as he leads a squad consisting of himself, Ivy, Grime, and Unin. And you can have a B story where Polly's mad about being on the sidelines, trying to save the day with someone like Beatrix before Sprig and Grime can. This is another scenario I'd be more than happy with. More time with the amphibians we know and love as we get an up-to-look date at the world long after everything with Andreas and the Stones went down, honoring the end of the series while still allowing us to spend more time in this world, although the trio's absence would probably be felt. Now that I've dished out a bunch of ideas for an Amphibia revival, we should probably ask ourselves the question, could this revival even really happen? Just because the creator of a hit cartoon wants to make more, it doesn't mean it'll always happen. And with the state of the animation industry, shows are rarely getting greenlit as is. Well, I think the odds of a new Amphibia cartoon could actually be pretty high. Like compared to other story-driven tunes owned by the mouse, like Star and the Owl House, Amphibia currently has a lot more going for it to justify a sequel. And don't take that the wrong way, those are 2 series I want to see more of. I made a whole video pitching an Owl House sequel. But what I mean is, while animation is a wonderful medium that can depict a wide range of stories, it's also a business, even if we don't like to think of it as such. These networks and streaming services are greenlighting cartoons with the hope that they can become profitable, usually through merchandise and tie-ins like books. And if there's one thing Amphibia's been crushing since its finale, it's books. Marcy's journal performed really well, far beyond expectations. which is why we're not only getting the art book, but a yet-to-be-announced third mystery book. The franchise having 3 books under its belt is more than what most Disney TVA cartoons have. It's now rubbing shoulders with DuckTales and, of course, Gravity Falls. If these next 2 books perform just as well, if not better than Marcy's journal, then I think that'll be solid proof that Amphibia is a profitable series that's worth capitalizing on. If it's printing the money without an ongoing TV series, then how much could they be making with one? Of course, making money off Amphibia without investing millions of dollars into a cartoon is enough incentive to keep the franchise where it is. But all the major animation networks are in reboot revive mode right now, especially with their 2000s and 2010s catalog. Disney being no exception. Proud Family has been back for some time. Phineas and Ferb is making an official comeback. Hirsch might fold and give us that Gravity Falls sequel sooner than later. Hell, Disney was one of the first to take back a conclusive ending in favor of making more show with Kim Possible back in 07. Amphibia coming back in a few years just feels feasible, and I want to work on it. But until that day comes, these are just my thoughts, and I'd love to hear yours. What do you want to see from an Amphibia revival? Should the girls make a comeback? Should we focus only on the frogs? Or is it time for someone else to take the spotlight? Let us know in the comments down below. And keep the conversation going over on Twitter and Instagram at AwestruckVox and at RoundtableVids. Shout out to Hats Off Media for a banger thumbnail. Peep his video so he can support his indie cartoon Screen Time. And if you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. AwestruckVox, signing out.